So I think what I'll talk about now is prohibited transactions. See, with the self-directed IRA, there's so much you can do. I mean, it just really, when they created these IRAs in 1974, they went to effect in 75. The IRS, they didn't say what you can do. They said what you can't do, right? And the list was like 2 things. The IRS said, hey, enjoy these IRAs, just you can't do 2 things. And that is invest in collectibles and also invest in life insurance contracts. Those are the 2 things that don't go in a self-directed IRA. So no, fine wine collection, I think because a lot of them turned into bottle collections, right? And no, like coins have to be of a certain fineness. It can't be like a Krugerrand. It has to have a certain fineness to be able to go into an IRA. There may be some movement on this, but for right now, your IRA can't be an equity investor in an S-corporation. Not because the IRS says so, but because that's what S-corps don't allow non-human entities to own equity. But that could change. I think we may see a change in that in the horizon. So where you can do so many great things, and you've been able to do so many great things with your IRAs for 40 years, investing, the person sitting next to you, your IRA can invest in their deal. How cool is that? Their deal, they make money on their deal, they win. You make money on your deal, your IRA wins. I mean, in a perfect scenario, that's how it works. So when it comes to self-directed IRAs, there are rules and things you can't do, and it's pretty important to know that. I kind of think of self-directed IRAs as a game that you want to play to win. Because if I told you, most of you, that we're going to play a game, you guys are here this early on a Saturday, so I know you're all like type A and you want to win. You're going to be there, you're going to win. So you wouldn't need to know the rules. So real quick, they're disallowed people with self-directed IRAs, and they're your lineal ascendants and descendants. It's your parents and grandparents and their spouses. It's you and your spouse, and your children and your grandchildren and their spouses. Your IRA doesn't do business with these people, right? So, for example, if say your spouse is going to open a business, you think, oh, that's great, I'll take my IRA and invest in my wife's business. Well, guess what? Your wife is a disallowed person. It's a prohibited transaction. You can't do it. So what if you commit a prohibited transaction? So what? If you do, the IRS says game over, and here's all your money. You can pay tax on it. Thank you very much. It's no longer an IRA. So it can be very expensive. So at uDirect IRA Services, we want to talk to you about your deal to see if we hear any red flags if your deal is a prohibited transaction. Another thing would be doing business with the disallowed people or offering services to the plan. You think, well, hey, look, my IRA just bought this great rehab, so I'm going to go in there and I'm going to do the drywall on it because I'm really good at that. Well, if you do, then it's an over-contribution of sweat equity. Do you like that? So you can't do that. It's offering services to the plan. You can't do it. So before your IRA invests, make sure you understand what you can and can't do. But another prohibited transaction I don't talk about a lot is offering constructive use of your IRA. So I have a couple examples. One is really you've got constructive use of your IRA when you bypass the custodian. And we see this a lot. For example, maybe somebody will invest with an asset sponsor, and their IRA invests. Great. That deal is done, it paid off, great. Now the IRA owner wants to get into that asset sponsor's next deal. So what they need to do, what they should do, is take all the money, all the proceeds from that deal, put it back in their IRA, and then new paperwork to take it out and give it back to the asset sponsor for the new deal. So the custodian knows what asset they have custody of. But what people do instead, because investors are smart people, right? And you want to get things done quickly, you're busy, you want to get things done quickly, but you need to follow the proper steps, because if you let that asset sponsor simply roll your money over into the next deal and it bypasses the sponsor, the custodian, then we don't know what asset we have custody of, right? And especially if you personally sign documents with your personal name that you've moved the money from one asset to another, that can be constructive use. So you want to avoid that, because that can lead to you, having your account dispersed to you. Another one is taking rents personally. We had a couple clients do this. It's funny because it was like two. It hasn't happened since, but like 2 happened in the same week, where someone had IRA-owned property, and their tenants were paying the rent, and they're taking that rent and just putting it right in their own pocket, right? And so one of the guys that did this, he says, well, what's the problem? He says, I reported the income to the IRS. Like, no. So 100% of the proceeds of a self-directed IRA deal need to go back into the IRA that owns the asset. And 100% of the expenses have to be paid for by the IRA. We had someone else take constructive use of her IRA by taking her rent from her IRA-owned property and putting it in her Charles Schwab account. It's like, it's IRA, it went in the IRA, but you see, she bypassed the custodian. I know, yeah, Margaret's having a good laugh, but that people do this, and it's okay. I mean, self-directed IRAs, it's not like you learned about it in school. People ask me, how did you know that you wanted to be in self-directed IRAs? It's not like when I was a little girl, I dreamed of self-directing IRAs, So it's something that's new to everybody, and so learning the rules is just incredibly important. So I think I have a couple minutes, and so I'll take them to hear what questions you have, if any.